The waves crash violently against the Gulf Coast as Emma Benson's desperate screams pierce through the storm. "Help me! Please, somebody help!" Her arms flail wildly as she fights to stay above water, the current dragging her further from shore. But what happened next shocked everyone who witnessed it. John Fisher squints through the spray, his weathered hands gripping the wheel of his struggling fishing boat. At 28, he's already carried the weight of his community's hopes on his shoulders for years. The faded paint on his vessel tells the story of countless early mornings and empty nets, but today something different cuts through the routine. That voice calling for help doesn't belong to any local he knows. "Jesus Christ," John mutters, spotting the young woman's blonde hair disappearing beneath a wave. Without hesitation, he yanks the throttle, pushing his aging engine toward the distressed swimmer. The boat lurches forward, but the storm has other plans. Emma's head surfaces again, gasping. I can't swim much longer." Her designer clothes, now waterlogged, pull her down like anchors. She'd been so focused on escaping her father's suffocating expectations that she hadn't noticed how far the tide had carried her from the private beach. John's mind races as he navigates the choppy waters. 3 years of marine biology studies at LSU before the money ran out flash through his memory. Those student loan payments of $1,200 every month still haunt him, forcing him to abandon his dream of sustainable fishing practices. Little did he know that this moment would change the trajectory of his entire life. "Hold on! I'm coming!" John shouts over the wind. His boat cuts through the waves, but he can see Emma weakening with each passing second. The irony isn't lost on him that while he dreams of revolutionizing the fishing industry with eco-friendly methods, he's using every drop of fuel his broke ass can afford just to reach her. Emma's vision blurs as salt water fills her lungs. Through her panic, she sees the silhouette of a fishing boat approaching. "Thank God," she whispers, then immediately sinks below the surface again. Her father always said she was too impulsive, too reckless. If she drowns out here, he'll never forgive himself for their fight this morning. John guns the engine harder, knowing his boat is already pushed beyond its limits. The hull groans under the strain as waves batter both sides. "Come on, baby, don't quit on me now," he pleads with his vessel. Back on shore, his younger sister Maria is probably setting the table for dinner, expecting him to bring home enough fish to trade for groceries. The pressure of being the family's primary provider weighs heavily, but right now, nothing matters except reaching that drowning woman. This decision would change everything for both of them. Emma surfaces one more time, her strength nearly gone. She can barely make out the fishing boat now just 20 yards away. "Please," she gasps, swallowing more seawater. Her thoughts drift to the heated argument with her father, CEO David Benson, about the company's environmental practices. She'd stormed out of their vacation house, needing space to think, to breathe. Now she might never get the chance to breathe again. John positions his boat perfectly, extending a life ring toward Emma. "Grab it. You're almost there." But just as she reaches for the orange float, a massive wave slams into the side of his vessel. The impact is devastating. Time seems to slow as John watches his boat tilt at an impossible angle. Emma's eyes widen in horror as the fishing vessel that was supposed to save her begins to capsize. The engine sputters and dies. Water rushes over the deck. "No, no, no!" John scrambles across the tilting deck, but there's no fighting physics. His boat, his livelihood, his family's only source of income, disappears beneath the churning Gulf waters. The last thing he sees before hitting the water is Emma's terrified face as she loses consciousness, her head slipping below the surface. But the real shock was still coming, because neither of them knew that this disaster would lead to the most unexpected partnership of their lives. The icy water stings John's face as he grips the handles of the abandoned jet ski, Emma's limp body draped across his lap. His capsized boat disappears beneath the churning waves, taking with it his father's fishing equipment and what little hope he had left for paying this month's bills. "Come on, stay with me," John whispers, checking Emma's pulse as he navigates toward shore. The young woman's designer clothes are torn, her blonde hair matted with seawater, but she's breathing. As they near the marina, John catches glimpses of his own reflection in the jet ski's mirror, a 28-year-old man whose calloused hands tell the story of countless dawn departures in empty nets. He'd graduated from marine biology with dreams of revolutionizing sustainable fishing, but those student loan payments of $800 a month had crushed those ambitions into survival mode. Emma stirs, coughing up salt water. My father," she gasps, her green eyes focusing on John's concerned face. "He doesn't know I'm here." "We need to get you to a hospital," John says, but Emma grabs his arm. "No hospitals. Please. I can't, not yet." Before John can respond, the thunderous roar of helicopter blades fills the air. A sleek black chopper descends toward the marina, and John's stomach drops. He recognizes the Benson Industries logo gleaming on its side. The helicopter touches down on the marina's parking lot, and a man in an expensive suit storms out. David Benson moves like a hurricane in human form, silver hair perfectly styled despite the chaos, his jaw set in the kind of determination that builds corporate empires. 3 security guards flank him as he approaches. "Emma!" David's voice cuts through the salt air. "What the hell happened here?" John helps Emma to her feet, but she's still unsteady. "Dad, this man saved my life. If he hadn't been out there." "Who are you?" David's steel-gray eyes bore into John. "And what were you doing near my daughter?" "John Fisher, sir. I was fishing when I heard her calling for help." John extends his hand, but David doesn't take it. "Your daughter was about to drown." "Fishing." David's tone suggests the word tastes bitter. "In a restricted area?" "Restricted?" John's brow furrows. "Sir, these are public waters. I've been fishing here since I was 12. Emma steps between them, water still dripping from her jacket. "Dad, stop. He risked his life for me. His boat sank because he was trying to save me." But here's what viewers need to understand: David Benson didn't become a billionaire by trusting strangers, especially ones who appear conveniently when his daughter needs rescuing. His suspicious nature had protected his empire for 3 decades. "How did you end up in the water, Emma?" David's question hangs heavy between them. Emma's hand moves instinctively to her jacket pocket, and John notices her fingers tremble. I needed air. Time to think." "Think about what?" The silence stretches until Emma slowly unzips her pocket and pulls out a waterproof pouch. David's face transforms from concern to something approaching terror. "Emma, no. Not here." But Emma holds the pouch higher, and John can see David's hands actually shake as he recognizes it. Whatever's inside that pouch has the power to make one of America's most powerful CEOs afraid. "I found them in your office, Dad. The real reports about the Gulf cleanup project." John doesn't understand what's happening, but he can feel the weight of it pressing down on all of them. The marina suddenly feels too small, too exposed. David's security guards step closer, their hands moving toward their jackets. "Emma, get in the helicopter. Now." "Dad, people deserve to know the truth about what your company actually did to these waters." Emma's voice grows stronger with each word. "These fishing communities, people like John, they're suffering because of decisions you made." And suddenly John understands why his nets have been coming up empty, why the old-timers at the marina whisper about the water being different since the Benson cleanup project finished 2 years ago. David looks at his daughter, then at John, his mind clearly calculating risks and outcomes. "Both of you, in the helicopter. We're going to discuss this privately." But Emma shakes her head, her grip tightening on the mysterious pouch. She looks directly at her father, and when she speaks, her words make David's face go completely white. "Dad, I know what you did. And I think John deserves to know too, since it's his livelihood you destroyed." The mysterious pouch trembles in Emma's hands as she looks directly at John, her eyes still reflecting the trauma of nearly drowning. The weight of whatever's inside seems heavier than the ocean that almost claimed her life just hours ago. "John, I need to tell you something," Emma whispers, glancing nervously toward the shoreline where her father's security team maintains their watchful perimeter. These aren't just random documents. They're internal reports from our offshore drilling operations, reports showing contamination levels that could shut down half our Gulf operations. John feels his stomach drop. The same Gulf waters where his family has fished for 3 generations, where his dream sustainable fishing business would operate, suddenly feel tainted with corporate secrets. Emma, why do you have those? Because I've been investigating from the inside, she admits, her voice cracking. I discovered these while working in environmental compliance. Dad doesn't know I found them, but if these numbers are accurate, we're looking at an ecological disaster that could destroy everything you and your community depend on. The revelation hits John like a rogue wave. Here's the daughter of the most powerful man in the region, risking everything to expose potential environmental crimes that could devastate the very waters he calls home. But something else gnaws at him: his own family's fishing permits, his community's jobs, his mother's medical bills. They're all somehow connected to contracts with Benson Corporation subsidiaries. You realize what this means for people like me? John asks, the moral weight settling on his shoulders. Your father's companies provide the processing contracts that keep half our boats afloat. If this comes out wrong, it's not just him who gets hurt. Emma nods gravely. I know. That's why I was out there alone, trying to figure out what to do. I almost threw them overboard before you found me. She pauses, studying John's weathered hands. But maybe that was fate putting me in your path. The sound of expensive shoes on wooden dock planks interrupts their conversation. David Benson approaches with determined strides, his earlier panic replaced by the calculating demeanor that built his empire. Emma, we're leaving. Now, David commands, but his daughter stands her ground. Dad, we need to talk about the Horizon 7 reports, Emma says quietly, holding up the pouch. About what's really happening out there. David's face drains of color. His eyes dart between Emma and John, calculating risks and exposure. Not here. Not with. He gestures dismissively at John. But Emma steps closer to her father, her voice gaining strength. John saved my life, Dad. He deserves to know the truth about waters he depends on. We all do. She turns to face both men. I've decided. We're going public with this. Full transparency, full accountability, whatever it takes to make this right. For a moment, John sees hope flickering in David's eyes, a father recognizing his daughter's courage, a CEO perhaps ready to choose integrity over profit margins. But the moment shatters as quickly as it came. David's expression hardens into something cold and calculating. You have no idea what you're talking about, Emma. What you're risking. He signals to his security team. There are bigger forces at play here than your environmental idealism understands. What does that mean? John demands, stepping protectively closer to Emma. It means, David says with frightening calm, this conversation never happened. Emma was never in the water, those documents don't exist, and young Mr. Fisher here was never involved in any rescue. He looks directly at John. Your family's boat registration comes up for renewal next month. Your mother's medical insurance is handled through one of my subsidiary programs. Your dreams of starting that sustainable fishing business? They require permits that cross my desk. The threat hangs in the air like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. John realizes he's not just facing a moral choice anymore, he's staring down the barrel of systematic retaliation that could destroy everything he's worked for. Emma grabs John's arm, her eyes blazing with determination. He's bluffing, John. He has to be. But as David walks away, he calls back over his shoulder, I built an empire by eliminating problems before they become public relations disasters. I won't let anyone, including my own daughter, tear down what took decades to build. As the sun sets over the Gulf, John and Emma stand alone on the dock, holding documents that could expose environmental crimes but facing a man willing to use his vast power to silence them completely. The very system they hoped might help them has just declared war. John looks at the woman whose life he saved, then at the waters that represent both his heritage and his future, realizing that saving Emma from drowning was just the beginning of a much deeper dive into dangerous waters. The weight of David Benson's betrayal hangs heavy in the salt air as John stares at Emma's tear-streaked face. Her father's limousine disappears down the coastal highway, leaving them standing alone on the weathered dock where this all began just hours ago. "He's really going to bury this," Emma whispers, clutching the waterproof pouch against her chest. 20 years of illegal dumping, bribing inspectors, poisoning these waters, and he's going to make it disappear like it never happened. John's weathered hands ball into fists. The same hands that pulled her from certain death now tremble with a different kind of urgency. "Not if we don't let him." His voice carries the quiet strength that's sustained generations of fishermen through impossible storms. "Emma, you said those documents prove everything. What if we didn't need his permission?" Her eyes widen. "You mean go public ourselves?" "John, you don't understand. My father has lawyers, connections, media contacts. He could destroy your life, your family's fishing licenses, everything." But John's already reaching for his phone, scrolling through contacts until he finds the number he's looking for. Maybe he can destroy one fisherman. But can he destroy all of us? He dials Captain Rodriguez, the unofficial leader of the local fishing cooperative. "Miguel? It's John Fisher. We need an emergency meeting. Tonight. And bring everyone." Within 2 hours, the community center buzzes with the voices of 43 fishermen and their families. These are people who've watched their catches dwindle year after year, who've buried too many friends from cancers that seem to cluster around their small town. When John explains what Emma's documents reveal, the systematic poisoning of their waters by Benson Industries, the room erupts. "My grandfather fished these waters for 60 years, calls out Maria Santos, her voice shaking with rage. "He died believing the sea just got tired. Now you're telling me some rich man's company killed it?" Emma stands slowly, the pouch still in her hands. The documents show decades of violations. Your cancer rates, the fish die-offs, the coral bleaching, it's all connected to our illegal chemical discharge points. Captain Rodriguez pounds his fist on the table. "What do we do? How do we fight someone with that kind of power?" That's when the storm warning crackles over the radio. "Tropical Storm Helena, moving northeast at 15 knots. All vessels return to harbor immediately." John glances at the barometric pressure gauge on the wall, dropping fast. But his mind is racing even faster. "The press conference," he says suddenly. "Emma, didn't your father mention the quarterly shareholders meeting is tomorrow?" "Yes, it's being broadcast live from the Biloxi Convention Center." "Why?" "Because storms don't last forever. And sometimes the clearest sky comes right after the worst weather." John's voice grows stronger with each word. "We hold our own press conference. Right there, right then. Make it impossible for him to control the narrative." The room falls silent except for the howling wind beginning to rattle the windows. Then Captain Rodriguez stands. "I'm in." One by one, others follow suit. "Count me in too." "We're with you, John." It's time someone stood up to these people. But even as the community rallies, doubt creeps into John's chest. Tomorrow, he'll be standing before cameras, accusing one of the most powerful men in the Gulf Coast of crimes that could send him to prison. The same man whose daughter he saved, whose gratitude he's about to throw back in his face. Emma seems to read his thoughts. "John, you don't have to do this." "I can." "No." His voice cuts through the storm noise outside. "This isn't just about you or your family anymore. This is about every kid in this town who deserves to grow up healthy. Every fisherman who deserves clean water to work. Every family that trusted their government to protect them." As if on cue, lightning illuminates the room, and thunder shakes the building. Through the windows, they can see the harbor churning white with fury. But John's resolve has never been steadier. The next morning dawns crystalline clear, the kind of perfect sky that only follows the fiercest storms. At the Biloxi Convention Center, news vans line the parking lot as shareholders file into the building. Emma adjusts her blazer one final time, the documents safely tucked in a leather briefcase. "You sure about this?" John asks, his own hand smoothing down his best dress shirt, the one he wore to his father's funeral. Emma nods, but her face is pale. "After what we're about to reveal, there's no going back. For either of us." They approach the convention center's side entrance, where Captain Rodriguez and 24 other fishermen wait in their Sunday best. The plan is simple. During the public comment period, Emma will take the microphone and reveal everything. But as they enter the building and see the packed auditorium, 500 shareholders, dozens of reporters, cameras from every major network, the magnitude hits them. In 20 minutes, their quiet fishing town will be at the center of a national scandal. Emma reaches the registration table and signs up to speak. Her hands don't shake as she writes her name, but John notices she grips the pen like she's holding onto a lifeline. The shareholders' meeting begins with David Benson taking the stage to thunderous applause. He looks every inch the successful CEO in his tailored suit, his smile confident and warm. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to report that Benson Industries has had its most profitable quarter in company history." John watches Emma's face as her father speaks, seeing 17 years of love and trust warring with the terrible knowledge in that briefcase. When the moderator finally calls for public comments, Emma rises from her seat like she's walking to her own execution. But as she approaches the podium, something impossible happens. From the back of the auditorium, another figure begins walking down the center aisle. Someone none of them expected to see. Emma reaches the microphone, opens her mouth to speak, then freezes as her eyes fall on the approaching figure. The color drains completely from her face, and for a moment that stretches like eternity, the only sound in the room is the click of heels on marble flooring. The unexpected figure approaching the podium is John himself, his weathered hands trembling slightly as he adjusts the microphone. Emma steps back with a warm smile, giving him the space he deserves. The crowd of reporters and community members leans forward, cameras clicking rapidly. "My name is John Fisher," he begins, his voice stronger than he feels inside. "3 months ago, I pulled this woman from the Gulf waters, never knowing that single moment would change everything." His eyes find Emma's in the crowd, and she nods encouragingly. "But what happened next taught me that real courage isn't just about diving into dangerous waters. It's about standing up for what's right, even when the current seems impossible to fight." Emma takes the microphone back, her voice clear and determined. "John didn't just save my life that day. He showed me what integrity looks like when everything is on the line." She pauses, looking directly into the main camera. "That's why I'm proud to announce that Fisher Sustainable Enterprises will receive a $2 million investment to launch the Gulf Coast's first fully sustainable fishing operation." The crowd erupts, but John feels like he's underwater again, the magnitude of the moment washing over him. $2 million. His dream, the one he'd sketched on napkins and talked about until his family rolled their eyes, is becoming reality. This isn't charity, Emma continues, her father David now standing proudly beside her, their relationship transformed through weeks of difficult but honest conversations. This is an investment in a vision that puts community and environment first. John's model will create over 50 local jobs while protecting the waters that sustain us all. John's mind flashes to his grandmother's weathered hands teaching him to bait his first hook, to the bills piling up on his kitchen table, to the skeptical looks when he'd talk about sustainable fishing practices. Now, standing before microphones and cameras, he realizes this moment represents something bigger than his personal dream. "Growing up here, I watched our waters change," John says, taking the microphone one final time. "I watched good people struggle as fish populations declined and big corporations moved in. But I also learned something about this community: we don't give up on each other." His voice grows stronger. "This business isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who believed in something better." The transformation is visible in real time. John's shoulders straighten, his voice fills with the confidence of a man who knows his purpose. Emma watches with satisfaction, knowing she's witnessed someone stepping fully into their potential. 6 months later, the docks buzz with activity. Fisher Sustainable Enterprises employs local fishermen using innovative, environmentally friendly techniques. John's boats return each day with healthy catches and hope intact. The community newspaper runs weekly features about their success, and environmental groups from across the country visit to learn from their model. Emma visits regularly, no longer the CEO's sheltered daughter but a woman who understands that real wealth comes from investing in people and principles. Her relationship with her father has deepened through their shared commitment to ethical business practices. David's company now leads the industry in environmental responsibility, proof that corporations can profit while protecting the planet. Standing on the dock at sunset, John watches his crew secure the boats for the night. His phone buzzes with messages from other coastal communities wanting to replicate their model. The ripple effect continues expanding, touching lives far beyond their small Gulf town. "You know what I learned?" John says to Emma as she joins him watching the sunset paint the water gold. "Sometimes the biggest waves come disguised as the worst storms. That day in the water, I thought everything was falling apart. Turns out, it was the beginning of everything falling into place." Emma smiles, knowing they've both discovered something profound about courage, community, and the power of doing what's right. Their story proves that when we reach out to help others, we often save ourselves in the process. The camera pulls back, capturing the thriving dock, the sustainable boats, and two people who dared to believe that individual actions can create waves of positive change. Their story challenges every viewer to ask, when life presents you with choppy waters, will you dive in to help others stay afloat? What dream have you been afraid to pursue? What person in your community needs someone to believe in them? Share your story in the comments below, hit that like button if this inspired you to take action, and subscribe for more stories that prove ordinary people can create extraordinary change.